Back on Skyhawk Talk with Coach Jason Simpson here from Snappy Tomato Pizza. You can watch this later at utmsports.com, and we encourage you to check out the website for all that's going on with all the sports teams. Coach, a couple of records should be broken before the season is through. Senior quarterback Derek Carr, 184 yards shy of becoming UT Martin's all-time leading passer. He's third in school history with 6,077 yards. Carr also had 44 career touchdown passes and needs 8 more to set a new school record. At some point, he's going to break those records.
Well, if he stays healthy, he certainly will. But the thing I'll tell you about Derek is he's never been a stat guy, and he understands the flow of the game. He understands, he understands what his legacy is as far as winning games, and so. We certainly need him to play at a high level, and if he does that, then he'll break all those records.
How much has he changed? I remember when he would come in that freshman year, and we'd see him at the end of the games, and we thought, this kid's going to be pretty good because he was completing passes even back then.
Well, it's golly, I've spent a lot of time with the kid, or I say kid. He's grown now over the last 5 years, and, it's been fun to see him grow up. I think he wants to get into college coaching once he graduates. He's scheduled to graduate in December, and I think he's got a very good football mind and high IQ. He understands protections. He understands run game. I think he'll be a very productive coach, and we'll certainly miss him, and we're going to enjoy him for these next 8 games and then some.
How do you do that? How do you graduate from college and get into coaching?
We've had that conversation a lot because guys don't understand. They just think their next job is going to be at Oklahoma State, coaching running backs or something. Doesn't work like that.
And I'm on ESPN.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, there's a process. You've got to be a volunteer or a graduate assistant, and guess what? Most schools only got 2 graduate assistants jobs, and there's a lot of politics and a lot of, who to get those jobs. And so I try to teach those guys that, and we've got a good UT Martin coaching tree going over the last 7 years. A lot of GAs out there that are full-time guys at other places. So, if that's what he decides, we'll certainly help him along with that process.
Now, I know you know what you look for in a player, and I've heard you say that. What do you look for in a graduate assistant coach?
That guy, he's not going to be the coordinator. He's not going to call any plays or anything like that. You want a guy that's tireless. You want that it's not about the money. He just wants the responsibility. Would work for nothing because they basically do, and it's always in that office, and that's hard to do. It was even hard for me at my age when I started doing it. That everybody wants the glamorous job. You the game day responsibilities and stuff. And guess what? Your job may be just to write the plays down on but that's your role. And so that's what you're looking for. A guy that's relentless worker, and then will do what they're asked to do.
The thing that, to me, you make a great point that is changing with the mentality of young people. Let me ask you it like this. I'm taking a graduate class, and the professor talked about how she went to teach high school students, and she realized their attention span's about 10 minutes. And she said, with the new generation of kids, with their text messaging and drive-thrus and microwave ovens and on-demand movies, that they expect to get what they want right now, and that usually they're bored and ready to do something else in 10 minutes. So she altered the way she taught her class, where she would teach for 15 minutes and then give them a project to do for 15 minutes and then teach and do the project to keep their attention span. As a coach, have you changed the way you have coached based on this new impatient generation that's coming up?
A little bit, and you have to understand I'm kind of in between, because the coaches that I work for, when I first started in this business, we're still breaking down 8mm tape,
right,
16mm tape, and hanging the strips from the walls, and splicing them all together, and you hear all those cool stories.
Yeah. And
then even when I started, we would have to change, it was VCR tapes, and I'd have to drive someplace and meet the coach at the Hardee's and switch it, And now you do it all by computer and stuff. So I'm in the middle of it. So these kids, they buzz around on the computers and get everything straight. And so that's kind of helpful and all. But as far as the players, I think the one thing I've changed about, if I had the technology and had the money and stuff, you put all the playbooks, they'd all have iPads like they do in the NFL.
They do that in the NFL, obviously. Do they do that at some of the bigger college programs?
Yes, and some people don't have any playbooks. They just put it all on iPads and the kid and put all the video just loaded up on the server, and the kids are able to get to it and all that kind of stuff.
And we'll probably have that someday.
Eventually, and that would be awesome. But I think one thing that's changed a little bit too is that football is 365 days a year now in college football. It just is, and so you're able to carry more offense and your menu of your plays because your guys are throwing all in the summer. You know, it's not just they're not just getting here for 25 practices before that first game, and and just repetition. You actually can cut back, believe it or not, on some of your practices, and even expand, like I said, expand your your repertoire of what you want to do at times within reason, because your players have run that same route 100 times in the summer, so now you're able to put a little wrinkle to it that maybe in the years past you weren't able to do.
And you talked about your players who might want to be coaches. They expect to have glamorous jobs at the beginning, and I think that there's a sense of the younger generation of a little bit of entitlement because it's easier for them to get what they want from a technology standpoint. And even another example, you watched Saturday Night Live before. The new cast members really don't get on the show till year 2 or year 3. Are some of your players very impatient with playing time?
Well, there's always some freshmen that the reality hits them the first week of school when we say, hey, we're going to redshirt you. You see some long faces. It's kind of rewarding, though, when you see some guys recognize that, hey, this is the best for me. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to play at that level. How much better will I be 5 years from now when I'm 22 years old and I'm a senior? And the reality hits in. I don't think kids have changed that much from that.
Good.
Okay. But now but it is a learning curve when you say, okay, now guess what? You got to go to scout team now.
Yeah.
There's some dues that have to be paid, with that. So I think mentally they get it, but then when they realize that, okay, so now I don't get to dress out. Coach Simpson, you were the one that was calling me every night when you recruited me. Things have changed now. You're going through the de-recruiting process. You're part of the team now, and I don't care any less about you. That's not what this is. But this is the stage that you're in your career right now. So it takes a little bit of counseling sometimes to get kids to see it from the big picture. But but when they look at the Julius McNair, the Jason McNair, the Derek Carrs, the Darren Knowles, the guys that have redshirted and have gone through that process, and they see the relationship that we have with those guys. We didn't care about those guys any less when they were freshmen and redshirted.
Right.
It just was other guys' time.
Since you've been at UT Martin, what is the story? Give me a story of a player who you didn't really know if they'd ever see playing time, and they probably didn't either, but they were patient, they were coachable, they worked hard, and it ended up working out in the end.
Off the top of my head, I can tell you one, offensive line, Michael Bryant. Michael Bryant's a guy who transferred here from Vanderbilt, and it's Vanderbilt for a year, been here 4 years. This is his first year to start, and I think he's enjoying it, and certainly paid his dues. Now, we always knew Mike would have the size to play. He's one of our biggest guys on our team, but that's rewarding when you see guys pay their dues and put their time in, and you want them to reap the rewards.
UT Martin set to play Eastern Kentucky this weekend. It's an early start. It's an 11 o'clock start at Graham Stadium. We'll go on the air at 10 with the Squawk Talk program with Randy Barnes. And for Eastern Kentucky, they lose at Purdue to open the season 48-6, went over Morehead State 24-17, beat Coastal Carolina on the road 35-17. And the shocker, the game changer, the head turner was their win over Jacksonville State 51-21.
Yeah, probably one of the top 3 teams we played in my 7 years. It's from FCS standpoint. They're good on offense. Obviously, they run the football right at you, and they're better in the throwing game than they've been. If you load the box up, all of a sudden they can make big plays down the field in the pass game. And then defensively, they've always just been solid, and they get turnovers, and just their scheme. Very impressed with their scheme over the years, and it's you go back the last 2 years. We've had some good games with them the last 4 years, I guess. I guess go back to 2008. We had a chance to win a conference championship. We missed the field goal there at the buzzer. We lost, I guess, by 7, I think, 2009. 2010 here, the first time in the history of our school, we actually beat East Kentucky. I think we're 1 win versus 21, 22, 23 losses. Okay, so that's when you said name some of the first. That's one of the first things. First time we've ever.
And it was big.
It was big. 10-7.
Yeah.
So that was awesome to get a win that year. And then last year we tied the game up. Our defense played really well, and we stayed in the game, and we scored on a broken play, and then we missed the extra point. And fumbled and lost late under 2 minutes. So that was disappointing. They went on and won the league. If we beat them there, they don't win the conference championship last year. Yeah. So they know we're a good opponent. We know they're a good opponent. But like I said, they're probably the best team we've played in the last 6-7 years.
They were expected to be. I didn't expect them to beat Jacksonville State by 30 though.
Jacksonville State turned the ball over 4 times, but it wasn't going to matter. You turn the tape on, it was EKU just really set the tone early, and just dominated both sides of the football.
A game that's going to bring your program recognition, too. It's nationally televised.
Well, we hope so. We're excited about it. You don't practice any harder. You don't practice, you don't do anything different. But, I hope we represent we need to. We need to represent our university and our community well. And we hope people out there, our alumni, our recruits are watching. And we certainly want to put a good showing on television for them.
Coach, we've always said it's a family atmosphere, fun to be a part of the event at Graham Stadium. It is an event on Saturday, and we encourage the fans to come out.
Well, guys, we need you. Go Mad is working for us. A lot of people are making a difference. Our administration is making a difference. I need the fans. I need the students to make a difference. We're working on some things. I want that to be the loudest that it's ever been there. Who said just because it's not in a dome, why can't we be loud? It was loud at Austin Peay the other night.
It was.
Austin Peay did a good job.
But our fans were louder than the Austin Peay fans. We did the wave.
I saw Eric Wilson. Awesome. That was great. Man, I appreciate those guys. And that made it almost like a home game for us. We're going to give us your best. Please give us your best because we need it, and we're proud to represent our university. And I thought Austin Peay had some music going. It was great. I hope we can do that. I'm counting on Trudy to get that going this week. Her and Tim, and I'm excited about it.
Okay, let's rock it out. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you,
Coach Jason Simpson. And again, the Skyhawks are set to play Eastern Kentucky. It's an early game Saturday. Get out at 11 for the kickoff. Again, 10 o'clock. Our Squawk Talk program begins with John Abel and Randy Barnes. 10:30 we'll start the First State pregame show with Coach Jason Simpson, and then the kickoff is at 11 at Graham Stadium. Don't forget, you can always go to utmsports.com for all the information you need on University of Tennessee at Martin Athletics, and go to ovcsports.com to check out all of the teams and stats from the Ohio Valley Conference. I want to say thanks to Coach Simpson, also Coach McNamara, who joined us earlier, and best of luck to them with 3 games coming up this week, and Frank and the gang here at Snappy Tomato Pizza. I'm Chris Brinkley. Stay with us on our flagship station, Big Orange Hotline, with Bob Kessling and Coach Dooley looking back at that tough game with Akron this past weekend when we come back with the Big Orange Hotline next. Thanks to Robert, too, back at our studios at WCMT, the flagship station. I'm Chris Brinkley saying so long, everybody, and thanks for listening to Skyhawk Talk on the University of Tennessee at Martin Sports Network.